Welcome back. Okay, let's get more reaction for you now. You've seen and heard the big news from the Constitutional Court on Newsroom Africa this afternoon, that ruling that says that any individual must be allowed to campaign, to contest to be elected in their own personal capacity in Parliament and in provincial legislatures. This means that you don't have to be part of a political party to get into Parliament. There is a huge conversation around this. Some analysts that you'll have seen today will have said that this can really change all of our politics, possibly the very nature of our politics. One person who's, I think, welcoming the ruling so far is Herman Mashaba. He's the leader of the People's Dialogue. Herman, good afternoon to you. Why are you welcoming this ruling this afternoon?
Good afternoon. What a great day. Another landmark victory for people of South Africa, landmark victory for our Constitution. So really quite exciting news, and we're really looking forward to further developments. I think this is the beginning of actually making sure that our political leadership, our public representatives are actually the ones representing society instead of representing their political parties and their own personal interests.
I mean, for people who want to run for office, some create their own political party. Isn't that really the way to do things, to actually build a party from the ground up? I mean, what's the advantage of running on your own?
Well, the thing is, Stephen, as much as I think this is a landmark victory for people of South Africa in our Constitution, but we still actually need further engagement, because you can imagine if someone today competes after 24 months, you can then go and contest as an independent. That is not really going to really give you that power. Obviously, for us to really be able to, for me in particular, to unseat the ANC and bring in a new political leadership in the country, we can only do that through a political party, so that you have enough people in Parliament to really be able to pass the right laws. But I think it's a positive and welcome decision by a Constitutional Court. I'm proud to be a South African.
I mean, there are people who have basically been accused of starting a party on their own anyway. I mean, you may have a view on whether Patricia de Lille was starting a party on her own, or whether you think she was doing something from the ground up. Musi Maimane, old friend of yours, of course, may be doing the same thing. Some people accuse you of doing the same thing. I mean, the question still stands, I think. Does it really make that much of a difference? I mean, surely when it comes to politics, in politics everywhere, organisation is absolutely key. The bigger the movement, the social movement, the union, the political party, whatever it is, it's always going to be bigger than one individual.
Well, I think, Stephen, one thing we must understand, South Africa's constitutional democracy is really very new by any standards. 26 ODS or so. Look at the developed democracies. You can take the UK, you can take France, you can take United States. The thing is, we must understand and accept as human beings that every time where a human being is involved, there will be faults. So that is why it requires all of us to take all the time, be vigilant, be able to really correct this imperfect life. Because life is not perfect. It has never been perfect in the past. It is not perfect today, and I can assure it's not going to be perfect going forward. It can only get tough. But it will require all of us all the time be vigilant, take personal responsibility to correct this imbalances and this imperfect life. And don't expect perfection in human beings. Human beings can't be perfect. That's why even God is unable to correct us. But at the end of the day, democracy succeeds when civil society is active, and you have political public office bearers who are elected directly by the people, because then they can hold them accountable.
Does this change your plans in any way, Herman? Are you going to now run as an independent? You can't do it next year because this ruling will only take effect after that. But or are you going to continue to build what you say is going to be a new movement, a new party?
In fact, Stephen, it has strengthened our resolve for the launch of our political party in August this year, so that we can be ready to contest next year's elections. And I think it's really giving us even more determination, because we've made a pronouncement that one of our 5 core values is electoral reform. Stephen, we can assure you we've already committed. We are going to contest a minimum of 3 municipalities. That is Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni, because these are winnable municipalities. our public representatives, our ward councillors are going to be elected by our own people. You will see when I launch the party in August, we'll already be introducing the system of us actually running internally in the public, running our own elections, so that whoever is going to be the mayor is going to be the mayor of the city of Johannesburg or any of the municipality where we contest, or you become a ward councillor. You're going to be elected by the community in that ward. You're not going to be elected by our own party.
Okay, there are several general questions I'd like to put to you. I imagine that you might use them to campaign, but there are important issues that face us as a nation, I think. So one of the issues is Parliament now has to change the law within 2 years, right? All of the people who are elected in Parliament are representatives of political parties. The ANC, the DA, the EFF, the UDM, the Freedom Front Plus, whoever it is, they got there through a system of political parties. Now the Constitutional Court has told 400 people who were elected through political parties that they have to write the law that will allow individuals to run. So in other words, they're telling Parliament, as I understand it in sort of raw politics now, to do something that's not in their interests. Do you trust them to do it?
No, I can tell you, I'm totally convinced that all the political parties in Parliament are not going to take this seriously. That is why when I presented the final report of our People's Dialogue, one of the key core values, as I indicated, was electoral reform, already committing our party before even the pronouncement of this Constitutional Court ruling, that we are going to subject our own party to the future of politics in our country, where public representatives are elected by the people. So people of Tshwane, Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg, they must know long before the actual elections by the IEC and government, we're going to run our own election every ward. That everyone who's going to be on our ballot box on the day of election, it'll be someone already elected by the community in that particular ward. So we're going to already start the trend, and it's up to other political parties to follow us or not. If they don't, society will judge them accordingly.
The reason that I specifically wanted to put this question to you is it strikes me that you are the one person who has the resources. I think you kind of know what I mean when I say that, but you have the resources to keep the pressure up on Parliament. Other individuals standing for office won't have those resources. So I'm presuming you're going to be watching this closely. You're going to keep the pressure up then.
Well, the thing is, Stephen, we can't really have people who go into politics for their own stomach. Politics anywhere in the world, it's about saving society. When you save society, society will take care of you. So right now, this patronage network that we were subjected to the last 26 years, we are going to bring it to an end through actually practicing real democracy of primaries. So we're going to put pressure on them by us doing what is right, and I know that society will love this, to have for the first time in South Africa, not being forced by legislation, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do for society.
Okay, I'm trying to get you away from the campaigning if I can, and I've got another big question for you now. I've only read the judgment once. I'm probably going to read it twice more before I go to sleep, and I wake up tomorrow with a completely different understanding of it, right? That's my current plan. It talks a lot about proportional representation. Let me just explain what I mean. We have 400 seats in the National Assembly, which is the primary basis of our legislation, right? So if a political party wins 1%, they get 4 seats. That means if the Democratic Alliance wins 20%, they get 80 seats in the National Assembly. The ANC wins 200 seats. They get, you work it out, you times it by 4. Okay, there we go. Now, in this case, one person would be allowed to run on their own. And that means that if that one person gets 1%, how does one person get 4 seats? Okay. The reason I bring all of this up, and it sounds very complicated, is because this ruling has the potential to lead to conversations that completely change the nature of our politics and remove proportional representation from the National Assembly. Now, proportional representation was agreed to at CODESA specifically to protect minority groups. Our politics has changed, our society has changed. Has it changed enough? Of course not. So here's my question. Do you believe that proportional representation now needs to go?
Absolutely. I believe very strongly that I think let us really use a constituency-based system where public representatives are elected directly by the people. The Constitutional Court has made a pronouncement, and I think fair enough, they've given all political party and parliament enough chance, 24 months, to really be able to really change the system. So I think it's not something that the Constitutional Court was unfair to expect to see change overnight. I think 24 months, actually, it is sufficient enough for parliament to really be able to change this legislation. But I know how other political parties are going to react to this. But fortunate enough, the highest court in the land has spoken, and nothing can actually change that. We are going to really hold them accountable. And Stephen, and it's not really about campaigning, is that us as the People's Dialogue with our party, when we launched in August, we are going to already start practicing this in advance before it becomes the law of the country.
Okay, one last question, so one last chance to campaign, Herman, okay? You're on Twitter. You know how divided our nation can look. It's not quite as divided as it looks on Twitter, but there are certainly divisions, okay? There's now going to have to be a big national conversation about how to do this. Do you think we need a new CODESA?
Well, fortunate enough, South Africa does not have to really start another CODESA. Honestly, and I've said this, my family and I took a decision when we launched the People's Dialogue. We said this is our gift to South Africa, to get South Africans to participate in a new CODESA, because the CODESA pre-1994 politicians negotiated a good deal for themselves. And I said, this is an opportunity for the ordinary men and women of South Africa to participate. Stephen, as you are aware, we reached over 33 million people. We received 2.4 million submissions. I mean, for me, when we launched this project, I was saying to my team, 500,000 would really be a sizable the number. We received 2.4 million submissions. So I think people of South Africa have already really spoken, but obviously if others want to engage any further, they are most welcome. But people must understand this is not is not a cheap exercise to run the kind of program that we've run. We've already done it. Our report, it's a public document. People can take lessons from that.